Right, meet online this afternoon, forum. You know the system, if there's any conflicts of interest declarations you would like to declare. Has anyone got anything they'd like to bring up at this stage? No, please just bring it up as it comes up during the meeting. No change to confirmation of order of business. We're moving to item 6, confirmation of minutes. So page 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, beg your pardon. I'm happy to move that's a true and accurate record. A call for any amendments or matters arising from those minutes.
Yeah.
A seconder, please, Councillor Wilson. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.1 is the follow-up actions. And I don't believe.
Yeah, I can speak to that one.
Oh,
There's
thank
one
you.
for me in that one. That one's around population projections. What we've proposed is to bring you that information as part of one of our LTP forecasting assumptions workshops for population. When we talk about capacity, that's one that we've pushed to that process. So we will come back to you as part of our LTP to talk population assumptions and projections. We'll bring you that information at that time.
Thank you. Any other queries or discussion around that? Anything that anyone would like to bring forward for the follow-up actions? If we can have a mover and a second to receive that report, please. Councillor Wilson, seconded Councillor Wong. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Chair's report. Apologies that it's only come into your inboxes here today. Welcome everyone and thank you for your time today, especially given today is the day, Budget 2026 Day. Been delivered just slightly earlier than now, so I hope there's no better place you'd rather be than here. Yesterday, the official cash rate was held at 2.25%, with higher rates likely to come. We're working in a confronting, uncertain environment, not only due to the current geopolitical situation, but also our own central government announcements, or what does seem like our own bombshells. Amidst this challenging economic environment, our council is dealing with rising infrastructure costs, expensive capital spends, and increasing debt, while needing to address affordability concerns. Additionally, we're progressing local water done well, and tomorrow we workshop our statement of expectation for CD Water. It certainly is all systems go. Last week we deliberated on our 26-27 annual plan, and I wish to thank staff for all their hard work. It has been a frustrating process, but that the average rate increase to land in the vicinity of 6.4% from a long-term plan estimate of 10.75% is a great outcome. Finally, the central government bombshell. The elephant has left the room, slayed in one mighty announcement from Minister Bishop. But will we live happily ever after? Amalgamation. That elephant in the room for so long is now up for discussion, and we've got a mere 3 months to make a plan. I think this is a huge opportunity for our council, but we need our communities to come forward and let us know what they want. Foremost in my mind is, do we stay rural and provincial? Or do we need the might of a metro? How do we retain strong local representation with a loud and focused voice? I look forward to these discussions and encourage everyone to come forward with their thoughts. We need to ensure bigger is better, and we're very reliant on understanding who wants us in their centre. So that's, I'm happy to move that, any questions or discussion on that?
The questions a question you raised around whether we need a metro, what in your mind is the decisive factors there?
I'm just conscious of when we were discussing the local board have done well, what seemed late in the piece, we suddenly realised connections were important and there was financial benefits with going with numbers of connections. And so we effectively changed track. Is that going to happen in this instance? Or yes, I mean, I personally are an advocate for the rural provincial staying together. However, what will be the cost of that? Yeah. Any other discussion? I'm happy to move that my chair's report May 2026 be received. Seconded Councillor Beard. All those in favour? Against? Carried. So item number 9 is reports for information in the financial snapshot for April 2026. I'll pass it to you guys.
Thank you. And I'm going to hand it straight over to Warren because this is his team's work, so it's all his.
Okay, thanks, Leanne. Good afternoon, all. It's nice to be here with you again today. Feels like a little while since I've been here, so it's good. So, as Leanne said, my pleasure to introduce the finance snapshot for April 26. I'm going to take the report as read and just highlight 3 things to you. First off, as you'll see in section 2.2, we're sitting currently at a surplus of 2.2 million ahead of budget. It's a good result given all the headwinds that are out there. We will come back towards, you might note in the full year plan, we did plan for a deficit. We'll come back towards that in the remaining months of the year because we don't have any more rates income for the years, but we still have the expenses, of course. So we will probably head back into a deficit, but I don't think we're going to be anywhere near the full year forecast deficit, full year plan deficit, I beg your pardon. Second thing I want to bring your attention to on page 26.1, we've talked a number of times about what the position looks like in relation to debt post Three Waters, and you'll note that I've included a graph for you. That graph depicts off of our current state financials. Bear in mind that we'd be crystal ball gazing to present this graph 18 months out, but presenting it as it stands today, that our debt headroom post Three Waters would move from a current 61.9, which is how much funding or borrowing capacity we would have available to us today. Post Three Waters, that number would move out to 85.4. Also draw your attention to the fact that nearly all of our debt, our external debt, would retire on today's position. We would pass over nearly all of our debt to Three Waters. That's external debt, bear in mind. So puts us in a very strong position post the CDW transfer. The third thing that I just wanted to highlight to you on the last page is we have revised the forecast on the capital spend for the full year, and that number has been brought down to 25.3 million on the back of a number of large projects that are quite topical at the moment, winding back expectations on those. And with that, I'll hand it over for questions.
just before we open the questions through the chair, I had a question today around information services, and it has gone from a 1.9 million program of work to 883. And this is where I received an email from our chair, and the reason for from Councillor Wong, and the reason for that is because when Warren and I, when our IS manager and I looked at the annual plan for this year, we had quite a significant underspend last year, and both of us were new. We'd both taken on a program of work, but we did not know the full understanding, have the full understanding of that program of work. So instead of carry forward, we put that underspend into this year's annual plan as a discussion with council. Now that we're across that work and understand where we're at with our digital strategy, there isn't the capital spend to do. A lot of the IS world is OPEX now. We don't have hardware, we have licenses, and so that work has changed in the way its portfolio of work. And we've also, our IS manager, Steve, has made had a lot to do with our suppliers and finding savings, duplications and reduction in costs. So that is our projected spend end of year, and I can't say hand on heart we'll get it all spent, but we'll have a good go at it. The other question that we got asked, and Warren did some work for me, was around, we got asked if we were receiving the revenue for the farms and bulls. And yes, we do receive that revenue against the wastewater activity, and that goes towards, but does not cover the interest costs of the debt that we borrowed to buy that land. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Richard.
2 or 3 questions for me. Thank you for bringing up that. What's the delta in income against costs in terms of that land?
Through the chair, because this is a public meeting, I don't want to release that.
I accept that. Could that come back as a paper back to councillors?
We'll just do an email. If it's okay, I'll just send you an email.
Thank you. Second one, in terms of reconciling the 6.1, I did start some work on it, and other things got in the way, I gave up. But in terms of what it seemed to me was you'd taken the 45 million debt position currently, forecast it forward, and then removed the 3 water component, but did not allow for some of the CapEx build projects that will be sitting there. So, for instance, if we build Tri-Hat area, etc., and that's not factored in on top of that 45 million, is it?
Yeah, that's correct. As I said, we took it as at today's position because there was too much speculation about what could happen in the next 18 months. And I thought, well, we'll just go on the facts just to put it into a picture. Yeah.
I can, it's further to Madam Chair, I can accept why you've done that because it is fact. But the reality is that we're unlikely to be in a stronger position as indicated by the report because of it's dependent on, we've got a significant projected CapEx position going forward of probably another 35, 40 million in theory.
And just as an addition to that, that 45 million is now, we will continue to do capital work and there will be additional debt. That's not the final figure that'll be transferred over to Central District Waters. There's still work to be done.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. I just want to make sure that councillors are aware that suddenly you're not going to be debt free.
No, in the true sense.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Just noting that this is a respective report dated for end of April, and understanding where our financial year is. We're into May, we're June is our close off. Just looking through the report, there's a couple of things that comments like things are unders and overs. So where do we see a really true reflection? Because there's obviously going to be some balancing out. I'm particularly referring to page 25. There's a comment about depreciation, historic fleet purchases. It seems to be mentioned before, yet to be sort of tidied up. Something about depreciation on historic fleet vehicle purchases. It's on page 25.
Oh, I'll pass that to Warren. I think it's not so much that it's got to come out. I think it's just the way it's now being reflected.
Mhm. That's right. So the budget was prepped on, we had an old, all the vehicles for fleet used to sit under fleet services within the corporate services and support domain. What we tried to do at the start of this year, post the budget being set, was actually to land the costs associated to fleet where they were incurred, and that meant breaking out the depreciation as well. But we didn't amend the budget because that was the budget that was approved, and so there will be permanent differences for this year in relation to depreciation, where the cost will sit in one spot, but the budget's actually sitting elsewhere. So that's the answer in respect of
So I guess
depreciation.
it's just further that it's on the wording, it says historic, in brackets, historic fleet purchases are still showing, which led me to believe there's some corrective work needed to go in there. And I wondered, when do we see that corrective work
Yeah,
going? and
yeah.
what
In
reflects that?
the new budget,
Yeah.
when we align the income, the budgeted and the actuals, and if you look at the page 24 and you see it as a whole, you can see depreciation is not that different to the actual and the budget aren't that far apart.
Yeah.
And
So-
it's just that the corporate services is wearing the budget and the departments are wearing the costs at the moment, so they misalign.
I guess if I may further, Chair, where I'm sort of trying to get to here is we don't have a finance meeting next month in June. Do we? I don't think so. Is it a workshop in June?
Changes afoot. We've gone to a workshop every second month
Okay.
type scenarios.
Just rolling into the end of the year, as we, throughout the year, we look at these reports and we see there's variations for timing differences and these things coming. I'm trying to understand at what stage do we get our truest possible reflection, because there's another comment in here. On page 29, rates are higher, read your increased rateable properties. It seemed to be, obviously that seems to be a one-off spike. There was no numbers around it, but it seemed to be a one-off spike.
Not so much that it's a one-off spike, it's just the full, through the chair, the final billing of rates for the year, that's where we've ended up. And that's because the budget was set on a slightly lower number of properties because it's set as a point in time. And that's needed to comply with all the external audit that goes on. And in fact, we've acquired more rateable properties throughout the year. So that's that's one of those permanent differences that's always going to exist with the budget.
Okay, so it puts us in a much better position to go forward in our predictions of what our rateable income is going forward.
So we've used that when we brought the budget, when we brought the workings that we've consulted on, and it
Yes.
is the latest and greatest of all the properties. And again, if I direct you to page 25, which is a collective,
Yep.
you'll see that we've got 11.2 mil against a budget of 11.1. So you've got that feeling. The last month of June, the last month of the financial year typically is our highest spend, but we don't reforecast all our budget. We just are not able to do that. We only do the one forecast for the operational side, the OPEX side, is done after carry forwards. And then we carry out the forecast at this stage on the capital spend, because that is such a significant piece of our work that has the council probably most interested, because we always underspend. There'll be parts that we don't know what we don't know. We've still got some work to do around assets that get capitalised, costs that can't be capitalised. There's still a piece of work to do in that and to agree those costs, and that will have an impact on our bottom line. It would be good to have that done for the May accounts. I'm not sure if we will have or not. But I mean, we did suggest in our terms of reference that we could look at the alternate months, whether it had to be a workshop or whether we made it a meeting, but we still bring the financial report to that workshop anyway. It's just for you to receive.
Just to finish off on that one, obviously it's just as you come to an end of financial year in any form of business or anything, it's quite, yeah, you're pretty keen to see what the wash up looks like. And what I'm trying to allude to is when do we get our biggest, best, clearest picture of what this wash up is actually going to look like?
Post audit.
Very cool. Thank you.
Councillor Wong?
I'd like to thank Leanne for her clarification of my question. Also going back to item 6.1 of the debt level after the transfer of assets. I take his worship's view that this is not today's snapshot, but I'm very impressed by the fact that we'd only have $100,000 of debt. Considering we've done two capital builds recently, the Na'awa block and the Te Marapihi, which I thought were debt funded, where has that debt gone?
So through the chair, you will note that in the workings on the right-hand side of that little graph, there is external debt related to Three Waters of 29.7, and there is internal debt related to Three Waters of 15.5 million. At the transfer to CDW, we will liquidate some of the internal debt that Water currently has between Treasury and the water functions. Some of that debt will be liquidated by way of actually transferring existing external debt that is actually sitting on other activities. So what we're going to do is say, right, in lieu of you not paying us that 15 million and paying out your internal debt, we will pass across to Waters in lieu of that $15 million worth of other debt that we hold. So it's just a way of actually liquidating the debt. So essentially we're like I said, we're getting Waters to pay down on their internal debt by passing more than the $29 million of true external debt that they have now. We're going to pass more across in lieu of the internal debt that they won't pay back. Does that make some sense?
We're going to use cash to clear off the debt.
Yeah.
Our debt. So we've got a lot of internal debt because we have no need to go to the bank and borrow when we've got such a good cash supply. When we clear up the transfer our debt to Three Waters, we'll end up with being able to liquidate internal debt because we haven't gone and borrowed it. And so therefore, when you look at that from a cash ratio, we haven't got debt. We will still have an internal piece of work going on where we're internally paying off to our block, etc. But to all intents and purposes, we will look healthy because we won't appear to have external debt in the short term. We won't need to novate it, well, not much anyway, because that's one of the reasons why we've got our debt floating, is because we're planning that it'll go in July. I don't want to be fighting with them about novation. There'll be one tranche, I think, that we'll have to novate, but we're trying to get rid of as much as we can, just to keep us safe.
Thank you for explaining the dark arts of finance. Are we expecting a carryover position of CapEx costs? And that leads me to a question as to whether the next meeting should be a formal meeting. It could be done at council, but there should be a capital carry forward process.
Sorry, through the chair, we won't know that till after, well after June.
Well, we should.
We can't. Well, we can.
Because if we are carrying it forward, then that will affect our depreciation funding in this year's budget.
Yes, but no, because the depreciation, another dark art, if you recall, we don't fund all of our depreciation at the moment, hence running deficits. We don't have a balanced budget. We rate our depreciation for our renewables, and the bulk of our renewables have been achieved. It's the capital program of work that incurs debt is typically where we're lagging. Renewables we're pretty good on. So we can meet with the managers, we can get a feel for carry forward, but it won't be 100% because until we've done 30 June and all the stuff we have to do and all the dark arts that go on behind the scenes on the 30 June, it would be provisional, and I don't really want to bring a provisional report to council to adopt when I'm going to have to come back a second time.
Yeah, but effectively, in terms of rating for an activity after it has occurred, there could be a position carried forward in terms of a year.
I don't believe there'll be anything that we carry forward that is the spend that we haven't spent. It is not cash.
Yep.
So it doesn't impact on rating for anything next year because it's not the renewables.
But effectively, you'd be rating that debt.
Correct. How, yes, we would, except we do a calculation that says in our dark arts that does not believe we're going to spend 100% of our capital this year. We do that calculation as part of sorting out our balance sheet.
But I believe that that should be reflected against a CapEx program rather than a percentage of carry forward. It should be identifiable. Perhaps we can have this argument, but that is my concern.
Then it'd be start,
I'm prepared to have it offline,
absolutely.
but I think there's a route that needs to be finalised.
A lot of our program of work phasing for next year, we met with our managers, didn't we, to rephase.
Yes.
So some of that work we've already done and built into the annual plan, such
Right.
as the pools, the classic of that.
Yeah, and absolutely accept that, but that it would indicate to me that there's further capital work that probably won't be done, that hasn't been identified yet in your plan. So that's why it's just
Okay.
usually,
We'll do some more work. For instance, if I talk about the information services, that won't be a carry forward. We won't need that funding. There'll be some that we won't need. There'll be some that we've moved into the annual plan, and we did this last year. And then there'll be some that will be carried forward. So I'll probably, Warren will probably meet with Mr. Bernardi on that one. That's probably our biggest area of unders and overs.
Well, thank you. Think that work around that. Councillor Wilson's got another question.
Just a very, very, very quick one, coming back to your comments, Warren, about this debt transfer. Is that audit tested? I mean, the methodology that you're using, and it is in keeping with some of our other partnering councils that are moving through into this Central District Water CCO.
From
Are we using
my
the same
perspective,
methodology.
yeah, through the chair, from my perspective, I can't speak for other councils, but certainly we have worked with the external parties that are looking at the whole financing arrangement around CDW. And we have worked, and also our treasury manager, we've worked extensively with him as well, so.
And actually, we've worked with PwC as well, who have been looking over this as part of Central District's water. So the challenge, I guess, the risk we've always got is right at the end, and Central District Waters can say, prove that debt belongs to what asset, and then try and argue that they don't think that should come across. I guess there's always that risk. I feel we're in a pretty sound place because
Yes.
we've always kept our debt in tranches against activities.
Yeah, I accept that, and furthermore, it's just as long as we're all operating the same baseline of it, treating our accounting principles for this transfer the same, then that's going to smooth the process as we go through to that. I just want to test that.
I believe we are. I'm not going to pretend to say I know the dark arts of Palmerston City Council.
Just to close it out again through the chair, we did historically go back and look at all the financial impact statements dating back to the first of the external loans, and we were representing increase in borrowing in those statements over the years. And certainly that 45 aligns very strongly to what's been disclosed in each of the visits over historical financial years for the water function. So I'm pretty comfortable it's the right number.
That should capture along with our LTPs and our financial impact statements.
We've done a lot of that. Warren and Kellen in particular, and Rita have done a lot of work in that, and also reconciling if we had any unspent depreciation. And you, if you recall, in the last two annual plans, we have used reserves for that reason.
No, so it'd be a good question.
Well, it was not so much a question as there was a section in one of the LGFA reports on council's debt before and after water services, I seem to remember. Can't remember just when, but I do remember seeing that.
Won't be about us specifically, it'll be about the,
No, I had,
yeah, no,
I
I
had
can't
all of
remember
the
any
councils.
but yeah, we'll be in that
Yeah.
boat. LGFA will have a huge, it's not so much they have a huge increase in borrowings, because they won't, they'll be transferring. We'll just be moving it all around.
Other questions? Can I move on a second set of that report, please? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Second, Councillor Sharland. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Moving to 9.2, debt collection update, please.
take that through on behalf, through the chair, I'll take that through on behalf of Lorraine. So one of the, I'll take the report as read. It is one that you should all be familiar with. We've presented a couple of times already in this financial year. And one of the things we have done to make things a little bit easier is put the movement from the prior reporting, which was asked of us at the last meeting. So you'll see that MWLS has continued to collect for us our debt. They've got 370 active files of ours, up from 342. They carry out a lot of our work for us in collecting the debt for us, and also organising legal processes if people have abandoned land, property, or are not paying their rates. And we have they do that regularly, well, not regularly for us, but we do start the process. Often that is enough to get people to pay. You'll see that we've continued to submit rate rebates for rate rebate schemes as people bring in their forms, and it's dropped down heaps because that first chunk happens in July, August, and then the final push through will come in June, just ahead of 30th, probably on the 30th, because everyone has to get them in. And by the 30th, there is no, we can't go backwards. I don't think you could find a place cheaper in New Zealand to do our debt collection for us. We're really fortunate to have this shared service across New Zealand, and the LAS do this across New Zealand. They've got more than 40 councils now. Other than that, I'll take the report as read and happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you, councillor Shine.
Just one question through the chair is the total 591 claims, how does that compare with previous years?
We're going to bring that report to you after June, because we said quite some time ago we'll do end of year type comparatives. So we'll bring that to you at the end of June, or July, August.
Councillor Wilson.
Just very quickly, and that report would be good to see, but could we have an aged report too as part of that?
Definitely.
Historic age report
I think it
on
is. I
some of
think
these
we did.
outstanding.
I think we do.
Where does that sit?
But we did actually, we used to. Oh.
Anyway, it just, when you.
Oh, yeah, historical, you can see it there. I thought we did, but it's not in detail, but you can see there the historical is a little tiny graph on the bottom there, and you can see that.
General though.
Yeah, what do you want?
Oh, no, I just would like to actually understand a time frame around some of these things, perhaps as much as.
We'll see what we can pull on that one.
Thank you, councillor Beard.
I just wanted to thank you for the comparison figures that have been included in 2.1, 2.2. Oh, sorry, 2.2, yeah, onwards, which I asked for last time.
Thank you. I'll pass it on.
Thank you. Any other questions? Then I can please have a mover and a seconder for receipt of that report. Thank you, councillor Beard, seconded Ms. Bishop. All those in favour? Against, carried. Item 9.3, page 39, is the LGFA General Information Report.
Thank you, and through the chair, I'll represent Lorraine on this one as well. I'll take the report as read. It is very much an information report presented to us quarterly from LGFA.
Any questions? No. And can I please have a mover and a seconder for receipt of that report? Worshipped, seconded councillor Beard. All those in favour? Against? Carried? And I think that must nearly be record time. Thank you very much for attending, everyone, and see you next time, same place. Bye.